Ah, look at the wonderful world. The rotted land of the undead settlement. All the way to Archdragon Peaks. Down to the frozen Irithil. Over to the distant lands beyond. Cathedral, where our Lord once rested. Below to Farron Keep. I shall devour it all, and with Aldrich's soul, no one will stop us. Wings a-flapping, it's me, Sunset the Bird, and welcome to the second part of our Aldrich run, where last time we had beaten our dear Lord Aldrich and gotten the Life Hunt Scythe with his soul, which will be a very useful tool in the future, somewhat in case I need emergency heals. It will have a few very key moments later in the playthrough, which you will see in this video, for this is the second and hopefully final part. Now, right after getting the Life Hunt Scythe, it was time to go to Vort's Bonfire to face off against the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, who, to be honest, was not that bad. I was pretty close to dying, but magic usually makes Dancer fall over fairly quickly. It's not that big a deal. Though Dancer is one of the cooler bosses of this game, those hollow footsteps, the eerie soundtrack, and the way they move so gracefully and add so much creepiness back to them. But Dancer goes down fairly easily with the power of magic, and we get to move on deeper into Lothric Castle. But before we go further into Lothric's domain, I decided to head back over to Anor Londo to grab myself a chime off of Captain Norshka's corpse. The chime that, despite being pretty darn good in this game, I forgot to level up and use at all, like for the entire playthrough. Running straight into Lothric Castle with fiery determination, I ran past these guys as I almost always do, since I wanted to get the bonfire as soon as possible, just in case I got my shirtless character's ass kicked. But soon after killing this one, and collecting the large titanite off his body, I was finally able to acquire some clothing for Hungris's very exposed nips. The Robe of Prayer, Lothric's outfit. I will keep the chest on for most of the run, but the outfit will change slightly very close to the end. But for now, this is what we're going to be rocking for a while. Finally, got some clothing. Running past, just beating up this dude and collecting a bunch of chunks when possible, just so I can level stuff up further once I return to Firelink. Now, coming back to Firelink, it was finally time to take out another NPC. My choice being Useless Cornix this time around. He put up a fair fight, but sorry man, I do need to devour them all. My hunger is never satisfied. Surprise update about the outfit for Hungris. I actually stole Cornix's entire outfit, minus the chest piece. I am now wearing the skirt and the wraps of Cornix. At least he was useful for something, am I right? It's time for the Consumed King's Garden, and I decided to run right past this cathedral knight, because one time he kicked my ass really bad. He really scares me. Coming through here mainly just for the chunks, nothing much else really. Get all four, run out, avoid the Pus of Man, and get my hands on the nice shortcut just in case Mr. Old King kicks my ass. Speaking of an Old King, it's time to fight the Consumed King Oseros. Yes, I believe it's pronounced Oseros, not Osiris. It's just how I think it's pronounced. He is personally one of my favorite bosses. But this madman must be stopped. He is a danger to all who come across him. For, well, he's a raging old man who's blind. He's just dangerous. Now when it comes to Oseros, I usually either die a few times, have a close call, or I absolutely mollywop him. In this case, it was a fairly close call. He got me a few times, especially when he decided to pestilent miss and I decided to counter it with my own. I got clonked over the head for thinking I was better than him. Deserved. That usually Oceros is very random for me, and I know that charge attack can come at the end of a combo, which means, yeah, that's fine, I don't care. But there are times where he'll just be standing still and then just start the charge. No delay, no countdown, just beep motherfucker move. And it just hits like well, like how he runs at you like a truck. I did actually use Dory's Gnawing like I am for this fight when I first played through this game, which that playthrough was when I died 112 times to him. He was by far my most difficult fight in the whole run. And you can make fun of me all you want, I deserve it. Because the second time I played through this game, I first tried him. But with the power of bugs that cause severe blood loss, it doesn't take long for the Mad King to succumb to his wounds. Bye bye, Oceros. All your offspring are usually angry at you, I'd bet. Moving past Oceros' boss room, go into the Untended Graves, which holds one of my personal favorite fights, and a boss that was my #1 favorite for quite a while. Champion Gundyr. When it comes to using magic against him, it's actually fairly challenging due to his extreme aggression. And it actually led to me dying once during this battle. But if you know what you're doing and how to time it when he provides you an opening, you can fairly easily get the kill off with minimal bashing of your head in because of how many times he'll hit that overhead or just smack you over the head when he does a right or left hook. Farewell, Champion Gundyr, you legend of a boss. Heading into the Darkfire Link past Champion Gundyr's arena, I buy and sell a few things with the old handmaiden of the past, I believe, and finish her off as is the sake of this run. Her scream caught me off guard though. Or was that the present one when I take her out later? Anyway, let's get our hands on the Eyes of the Firekeeper since we need them for the ending that is most fitting for this challenge. 2 points, going straight into faith. I decided to deal with Orbeck this time, which I had to start for Life Hunt since him sitting down dodges the Dark Hand. And he actually put up a fair fight, a little bit with those ranges and those magic swords. What caught me off guard is the line he hit me with when I killed him. I am not one who normally kills NPCs, aside from, say, like, patches. So when he hit me with a question that is meant to me to target the very player itself and their moral compass when they play these games, it was quite interesting. I also decided not to really edit anything out of the fight. Farewell Orbeck, a legend, and an amazing NPC. Going up the tower to get the soul of the Firekeeper so I could finally cure my Halloween, I also happily triggered Patches to lock me in here because he had to go. And he did not really put up much of a fight. His health got drained pretty darn fast, given that you need to hit someone 2 or 3 times to trigger their aggro as an NPC. He was a pretty weak target, but gratefully, we took care of him fast so we can move on to the next objective. I must really be on a kick for eating NPCs, because next up it's Henri and Horace. I've killed like almost 3 NPCs in a row now. Well, this will make it 2 and 4, so let's get to devouring. This early part contains a lot of eating. But first I took care of Henri because I believed her to be the bigger threat due to the coatings of her weapon and her having the straight sword that scales off your luck. But Horace was actually pretty resistant to the Dark Hand when he was doing his spins and charges. Though they only got me to about half health, and eventually he did fall to the power of the life drain. Something great that came out of this was actually taking his Leyland shield, I believe it's called, or something of that. Just to change it up, and because I never get to use that shield, so now we have a new parrying shield for future use. So long, Horace and Henri. It is always fun talking to y'all. Since we're on this cannibalism train, up next is Siegfried of Katarina. A regretful kill, but Nah, I've killed him before, it doesn't hurt as bad this time. And I definitely didn't miss this fall on the way to him. I actually never do that normally. But going up to Siegbert and starting this fight, I didn't think I had any real predictions. But gratefully, Siegbert can put up a real battle when you actually fight him. With his mix of a great sword, a nice piercer shield to bash with, great armor, a good amount of heals, healing miracles, and I think it's Way of White Corona, he has many tools to defend himself with and help make sure he lasts the fight in order to take you down or go out trying. Siegfried, you put up the most difficult fight out of any NPC this playthrough, and I bow to you. Oh, powerful Katarina Knight. Oh, it's Emit Force, not Way of White Corona. How could I have forgotten that? Oh well, it's too late and it doesn't matter now. Up next on this great spree of murder, it's time to take out Irina Karim, who goes out in 2 uses of Life Hunt Scythe. I was hoping she would have fought back, but I forgot that she's actually entirely passive and only begs for mercy. I felt kind of bad doing that, but why the I should have killed her earlier. She had a fire key, she had the tower key, I wasted 20 grand. Ugh. Oh well, note to self for the future use. Finally getting back to battling some bosses. Up next was Dragon Slayer Armor, who actually brought me something I was really excited in wanting in Dark Souls. A challenge run that was gonna force me to play differently. I am so used to just walking backwards and shooting, or rolling to the side and smacking. But in this one, while yes, I had to run away, using Pestilent Mist forced me to try to herd the Dragon Slayer Armor like he was a sheep into the mist. So the tactic of leading him rather than just getting mindlessly chased. This made me really ecstatic, and I was happy that the fight was so unique. You go down, Dragon Slayer Armor. You go in the fucking ground. In the great wise words of a YouTuber. Heading into the Grand Archives, after being 3 lords and acquiring the key of Gotthard's body, we face off against the Crystal Sage, where I decided to take the time to find out that they will not leave if you use the Pestilent Mist, but that also led to me nearly dying by getting smacked over the head with Hurricane. Oh well, he sucked. Bye bye. Though the Grand Archives didn't have much for me, I just came here, got the Undead Bone Shard, the elevator shortcut right behind the gang squad, and using a little momentum kind of jump to get over here, ran over to acquire the Estus Shard, which should be the last one I need, I believe. After that, I came back with the Coil Sword Fragment from the Darkfire Link past Champion Gundir's Arena, and traded it for a Titanite Slab to max out my gear, at least a piece of it. And afterwards, this sends Grand Archives, I didn't have much to do with it. It was time to meditate, or whatever this pose symbolizes for them, and head into Archdragon Peaks. What fun awaits us in the land of the dragons. Terror! It is fucking pain and terror! Why? Get away! Please! Just give me the bonfire! Stop trying to kill me, please! I just wanna go home! Pull the lever, pull the lever! Why? Why? Just, please, I just want safety! I just want safety! Finally, we're safe. Hopefully everything is over. Wait, what? Is that a fucking dragon? Huh. Well, this shouldn't be too... See? Ain't nothing to worry about, just a regular old dragon. Heading into Archdragon Peaks, we basically run past everything as I normally do, because we're not here to look at the funny serpent men or the rock lizards that run you over because they're just that lizard, or the flying dragon. We're here to ring the bell and usher in a storm to overtake the peaks that these dragons reside upon and take on their ally, the missing son of Gwyn, the one whose history has been wiped from everything. We are here to take on the Nameless King. And oh boy, I am excited. Though, I was very grateful that when we came up to this guy, that I actually got to face some challenge. Going into it was like, oh yeah, this is fine, this might be alright. And Dory's gnawing is the main use against him for, well, the dragon. The dragon tends to fly away though, so you gotta reposition, you gotta learn to time it, and funny enough, I struggled more. I don't know if this is more common for people, but I struggled more with the dragon phase than I struggled with the nameless phase. Because the dragon keeps moving around, it's hard to land your shots unless you wait to time it. And my impatient ass would rush it down and was getting annoyed because I got punished because I had to fight the camera to hit the dragon, and then Nameless would smack me over the head with his sword spear. It was quite fun to do it, but it gave me a lot of difficulty. But enjoy some of the moments. And just a heads up, when I beat when I beat it, I actually used the power of cheesing by standing away from Nameless and blasting him with the Nori's gnawing just out of range so he wouldn't hit me, but staying close enough so he wouldn't start rushing me down. But before we actually get into the Nameless fight, I ended up taking a break and running some detours. And I decided to level up and head toward the Profane capital using Pestilent Mist to deal with these invisible jailers, and running over to get the jailer's keyring so we can free Carl later when she needs to die. And then find out you can just throw Pestilent Mist on the giant slave's private place, and decide to just use that to take him out instead. It's pretty funny though. I found it really hilarious and just killed the rats once I got down there. Later, after heading to the Rethel dungeon earlier, before going to do the little key ring and giant thing, got a blood gem infused on my scimitar. This was the thing I mentioned a while ago in the first video. I ended up barely even using this and just swapping out for a different weapon later. I'm sure this has some use, but I just never got around to actually making use of it. And after a few failed attempts of trying different things, I decided to see what happened if I would just use Dory's gnawing and keep away from him. And it turned into what happened when I first beat Nameless King. Back then, I was a saltier player who got upset and decided, oh, I can't beat this guy, so I'm just gonna cheese him. Which, oh well, I cheesed him, but later on I would actually come back and fight him legit when I was doing a run using mainly Wolnir's Holy Sword. I actually fought him in a proper fashion, and it felt really good to do. I also did this in a previous run where I actually was going to make a video, but due to the fact I recorded 2 different runs that are both almost 10 hours long with the footage, I couldn't fit it. I was doing a dark race thing, but sadly, there wasn't enough room, and I thought this would be a better option. So this is just commonly it's just an alternate version I hadn't seen online, but it's just the alternate version of using a bow and standing away from him and just blasting him, and that's it. You just keep away to where he's only doing his stormy wave attack, and just shoot him until he dies. Not much else to say, and sadly Nameless goes down to literally cheating the fight. Sorry if you came here to see an amazing fight. I did other things, but I just ended up doing this. Meh, at least it's different. And now it's time to go to our friend Gale so we can head into the DLC of that is the Painted World of Ariandel. But before we do that, since I'm basically only giving you a taste of this frigid land, I realized after looking up lifesteal weapons or weapons that have basically weapons that have lifesteal or something similar, that there is one in the profane capital that I did not think of, and now we're coming here to get it. The moving monstrosity of sin, or as I like to call it, Handhead Baby, has an actual weapon that carries a life-stealing effect. The weapon that it drops after using Door's Knowing, which is surprisingly effective against these so pretty tanky opponents, is a useful axe called Eleonora. Eleonora's weapon art is called Feast Bell, where you ring the bell to make the weapon lacerate and give you health back per each hit. Afterwards, the other weapon that this Reddit thread mentioned was the Butcher's Knife, another weapon I didn't think about, which is dropped by Man-Eater Mildred in the Road of Sacrifice. Killing her drops it, and its ability is basically the exact same as Eleonora, except you just sharpen your blade, making it lacerate, which will heal you some health back per hit. I decided to go with Eleonora because I think Eleonora is a much cooler weapon. But to actually make use of Eleonora, we're going to need to change our stats around. In order to do that, I have to grab the last Pale Tongue from what I know is in the base game, or in the game entirely, that you can acquire without killing people as an invader, or something likewise. We need the Pale Tongues, so we can head back to Filthy Rosaria in order to get ourselves a lovely respec, so we can finally wield Eleonora, a weapon that I really like and really hoped I could have got more use out of when I first got it, like forever ago. But now we can finally use the Feasting Bell. And also, Hazel in grub form was hitting the meanest plank that I could, for the life of me, not interrupt. At least they're very dedicated to their workout. Heading over to Andre to upgrade Eleonora, I realized something that is actually surprising to me. That this weapon is one of the few, well, if not the only weapon that you can casually pick up in the game that requires cyanide scales. Usually boss soul transposed weapons require the scales, but no, this one's one of the exceptions. So give me a second while I go and gather all that. Just taking a second to show y'all the cheesing of a puzzled man dragon here, just by sneaking behind the no longer physical dragon corpse to hit it, getting that scale, and finally, after so much time, heading back and reversing the Halloween we've been I've afflicted Hungers with for so long. He is now beautiful again. Something I haven't done in quite some time due to not liking dealing with the mass amount of dogs in the Untented Graves is deal with the two ravenous crystal lizards and pass them, each of them dropping 2 Titanite scales, which will be very needed for this weapon. Getting to ring the bell and absolutely go to town on these was pretty nice, though I did get my butt kicked a little bit. Gratefully though, not much issue, and we get ourselves 4 more scales for our beautiful Eleonora. Also, don't mind the camera clipping into a wall there. Now that we have use of the Grand Archives, we come here and get ourselves some more Titanite scales, since I already rated the Consume King's Garden for the 1 it has. And just because it's funny, I decided to pull the lever to open up what I call the Goon Chamber, because normally this guy's coated in wax. You can see the image, I hope. Also dropping down, killing this crystal lizard, not forgetting what it gives, happily finding out it gives 2 Titanite scales. And me getting detoured because I forgot to get the 3 Titanite scales because I somehow got lost, got the elevator right outside the Twin Prince's room, but got the slab at the bottom of the elevator since it's a set of 2 lifts on 1 elevator shaft. Or lift shaft. And then dropping off a ledge to get more those 3 scales and finally get Eleonora to plus 5. Let us all rejoice for a maxed out weapon. Going finally back into the DLC that is the Painted World of Arienzo, I do what I do most of the time in these areas, I just run straight through. I'm not too greatly big of a fan of Arienzo as much as I am of the Ring City, and this route part is kinda nice. Like, look at this amazing landing. See? Nailed it. As soon as I'm done here, it's time to take on the Champion's Grave Tenders, where the first try I actually decided that rather than fight them, I would homeward bone out because I knew I wasn't going to be able to handle it with the current attempt, because I'm a little coward. And while I'm not too big of a fan of this boss, oh, let me tell you, the soundtrack is amazing for this fight. Just listen. Running straight through this old settlement of Ariandel, for I don't like fighting through it, I wanted to go straight to Vinheim, or, well, Wilhelm, that's his name, to have my fight with him, who actually put up a decent fight. It was very hard to get things off, especially when you use Vow of Silent Vow, forget which way it is. And I actually had a somewhat difficulty fighting him. Not as much as I did with Siegfried, but something unique about him was that he was one of the few NPCs, I believe, who died not to the Dark Hands Ultra head. He actually just died to Tor's Gnawing. So, at least he has that going for him. Bye bye, friend. Decided to skip further into it, not when the DLC long, because of how long I had to suffer. I decided to just pull the lever and skip past everything. Opening up the door to fight Sister Freed, who, while I did give it a few attempts, actually struggled a lot. Like, this was by far the hardest part, to the point where I'd actually given up to go fight the Twin Princes, losing the first attempt because I closed the game without stopping my recording, which was needed to do. But I decided to fight them, and it only took about 3 or 4 attempts, and I resorted for the second phase to only use the headphone and miss. This fight being one of my favorites, mainly because the music is great, and also because it's just nice how they do the tag team boss. They go down with not much of a problem. I also decided, in more preparation for Freed, I went to the Dread Keep, because that's why I beat the Twin Princes, so I can run to the Dread Keep and actually get some items to prep for Freed. This is how much I was struggling. I had to jump to the other DLC just to be prepped for the first DLC. Please forgive me. Now, finally returning to Freed, I don't think I actually died as many times as I thought I did. I think it was a little less than 10. The reason why this fight was so difficult is just due to the speed of it. I'm not great at it, and I don't think it makes it a great boss. But what made it a good fight this time around was how each phase was forcing me to use a different part of my build. I eventually had to use all 3 pieces of my build: Eleonora, Dory's Gnaw, and Pestilent Mist. I had to use my ranged attack, my close range attack, and my hurting attack in order to beat her, swapping each one for each phase. Which made it feel very much like we were both the boss, and we both had the constant swap between our gears just to make sure we could finish off our opponent. But in the end, Black Flame Freed falls to the hunger of Deep Saint Hunger, holding the soul of Aldrich devouring God. Rot in the frost. It was now time, since the Dreadkeep was already covered, that I get to fight my absolute favorite boss in the game. The Demon Prince, which comes before it, the Demon from Below and the Demon in Pain. I normally go after making the orange one into the Demon Prince, due to it being easier. But out of my own curiosity, and because I've seen how it goes, I wanted to make the red one the Demon Prince this time. And this fight was actually fairly difficult. I failed it once, maybe twice. But it was actually so much fun. One time I did this, and I was talking to my friends, apparently they said I cut myself off suddenly, but it was because I was so mesmerized. That's at least what I said. I was really caught up in this fight. It's just the music, the combat, the way you handle such a wild thing. The last demon in existence putting up one last effort to keep its flame alive. This fight is just so fucking cool. And the red one is much harder than the orange one in my opinion, due to all the fireball volleys that home in on you. It makes it really hard to get away. But I don't mind it. I like he seems a lot more batshit crazy, and that makes me love the fight that much more. So, Demon Prince, you're still an amazing fight. 9.5 out of 10. Since the point 0.5 taken away because that volley is a bit annoying to dodge, but not that big of a deal. Demon Prince goes down without too much struggle, but will remain my absolute favorite boss in this game. Now, with Demon Prince out the way, it was time to head to the final DLC. We're in the home stretch now, getting carried off by the Batwing demons to the Ring City, where 3 bosses reside. We have to deal with Half-Light, Midir, and Gale. This place is just absolutely beautiful, by the way. It looks so cool, and the lore is amazing. I also decided to fight with the guy who's actually smart enough to explain stuff instead of you trying to eat us. And for some reason, in his urgency to attack or possibly eat us like we were wanting to eat him, he chucked himself off a cliff. Is it so he can escape our hunger, or just cause? I don't know. I also got the Preacher's right arm, which is what I use in New Game Plus, due to the fact I hadn't considered it this playthrough. And time to run to where Midir is, all over this path. Which is normally not that hard if you know how to hide behind rocks and stuff, but this guy decided to push me and almost get me killed. Thanks. Burn. But it wasn't that bad, and now it was time to deal with the Bridge Midir, who was pretty normal. This build actually is a heavy counter to Midir, saying it's Pestilent Mist, so all I really gotta do is cast it and avoid his swings, and he would pretty easily die. It's not that hard to deal with a guy who's a giant target when he's getting eaten alive by mist, so down you go, Midir. I'll see you in a bit.
Such a feast. Only mere footsteps away. I must partake. I will consume the Dark Eater, proving to all that none escape its hunger. The primal urge to consume will overtake this world, and this dragon with it. Face me, my dear! And yet my hunger remains.
Moving on to Half-Light Spear of the Church, who was normally people would rate lower, I'd say, or I think going off some, well, few YouTubers I watch on Dark Souls content. I believe this fight was actually pretty good. I actually had to use a mix of my tools this time. Trying to mist him was nice, using Dory helped. It actually took some time to take care of the painting guardians who kept trying to heal him. The fight was actually made fun. I had to use a mix of everything, so yeah, it was more dynamic than normal than just beating him to death. So I had a lot more fun with it. But in the end, Half-Light goes down pretty easily. So long, Defender of the Church.
Filienor. Could this come to eat us? To eat our dark soul? Eleanor, help me.
It was now time for us to finally face Slave Knight Gale. One who wished to devour just like us. Only for a different goal. When it came to Gale, it was actually very, very fun. He's always fun to fight, no matter what. But this one was kind of nice, though the first attempt was amazing. I did choke at the end because of my greed. I could have first tried him, but my own greed led to me dying. If only I'd stand back a little bit more and waited. But that second try, oh how I focused. I was locked the fuck in. I was fighting him tooth and nail with this mist, which was the absolute goat for the fight. It was very fun trying to coerce him to run in, despite how chaotic he is, when he explodes with the Dark Soul power, flying around at inhuman speed, trying to take you down with everything he has. One final skirmish with someone at the end of time. Yet, I could tell deep down, Gale was afraid. He was afraid of being eaten, like how he had eaten others. There were moments where he seemed as if he wanted to run away, but was forced to fight against a true monster. And sadly, he falls to the might of hunger and his insatiable appetite.
Why am I not satisfied? There must be one thing to fill me. The fight I know. To take on the final man who stands to oppose Aldrich's dream. They will give me what I need.
It was time for Soul of Cinder, and what I'm displaying are the stats I had before facing off against this final boss. Level 88, 40 Vigor, 18 Attunement, 20 Strength, 30 Intelligence, 30 Faith. With minor leveling other places, and all my equipment. And, with all that being said, it was time to face the Soul of Cinder. With the final boss out the way, my hunger satisfied. Almost. There is only few people left to take care of. The ones who run the shrine. The old handmaiden. Andre, the blacksmith, who, despite not fighting back, kept smithing till the end. And sadly, the firekeeper. I feel bad for actually hurting her, but what needs to be done will be done. Carla the Witch. The one I had not done until the end of the run because I kept forgetting to, and I had been indecisive about killing her. Not because I felt bad, but because why not? And finally, the one I actually have forgotten about. My good friend Grey Rat. One of 2 or 3 NPCs I feel terrible about killing. I'll let it play out in full, for he put up a great fight, but sadly, in the end, all shall fall to Hungress's maw, and be consumed and made one with his empty, bottomless appetite. May you find peace within the darkness of death, my dear friend Grisrat. Now have your rest. I'll miss you. And with that, I summoned the Firekeeper in order to achieve the ending that best fits the Aldrich run. The end of fire ending, where we extinguish the first flame and let darkness take the world, as if a deep sea engulfs all. I really did enjoy this run, and how much it changed the gameplay. And I just like getting to try new things and create new little silly lore and stories for these Dark Souls characters. And I really like this one about being a saint of Aldrich who starts thinking that Aldrich is not doing enough to complete or realize his vision and takes it upon himself to help further this goal. Eventually, his hunger and madness leads to him taking out his own lord he once worshipped in order to achieve his dream by taking in his own master's soul. Yet, when he ate everything, with nothing left to be consumed, not a person, nor a lord, nor an heir, even when the waters began to rise and engulf the world, there was nothing, and I am left unsatiated, doomed to starve in an endless sea, never to be free of this burden. We did it, Aldrich. We achieved and realized your vision.
Tiny flames will dance
But
across the darkness.
we're alone, and hopefully something new becomes of this forever darkened world. Well, that will be the end of this, and I hope you really enjoyed, or somewhat enjoyed. Who cares? Because this is my first time fully doing one of these, besides the Dark Wraith, and something earlier I forgot, but I never fully tried. So I hope you really enjoyed this, because it's my first time, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. I don't think it was the greatest I could have done, and I will improve upon my editing in the future, but I am glad and proud that I was able to make this, and I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below, and I hope you all spread your wings and fly how you wish. There's a sunset the bird bidding you farewell.